It's astonishing to see so many people shill for a game like Ghost of Yotei, or rather, Ghost of Antifa.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
So just a few weeks back, the highly anticipated AAA PlayStation game Ghost of Yotei came out, the sequel to 2020's Ghost of Tsushima. The original Ghost game was praised for feeling like a playable Akira Kurosawa film, coupling some great storytelling with some very tight samurai gameplay. The anticipation as a result was very high for a sequel, and so far it seems it's actually delivered. The game currently sits at an 86 on Metacritic, with many praising its storytelling and gameplay, and also sold 1.6 million copies in the first week. In terms of revenue, that's about $100 million. So far, it seems most people are really enjoying this game and what it has to offer. Unfortunately, one very notorious game reviewer has made it very clear that they don't like this game whatsoever, and they think it's woke propaganda. And they also think that it stars an Asian girl boss. Wow, I sure haven't heard that one before. I'm talking about none other than Griffin Gaming, a notorious anti-woke game reviewer who really doesn't like Ghost of Yotei, apparently. Anti-woke game critics are a pretty notorious breed amongst game reviewers overall. Rather than actually looking at the things you should look at when criticizing a game, such as storytelling, pacing, characterization, and things like that, they'd rather get mad that the latest Ghost of Tsushima game has a female as the main character, oh no! Or they'll get mad that the last God of War game had a prominent female character in it, despite the two main characters still being male for some reason. Huh, knowing them, you'd think they'd praise the game simply on that merit instead of fixating on a secondary female character, but I guess here we are. Griffin Gaming is definitely one of the more notable of these anti-woke game reviewers, having over 200,000 subscribers. Inevitably though, a lot of his content just boils down to him complaining about games that either have female protagonists in them or games that he deems quote-unquote woke for other reasons. And now Griffin Gaming has chosen to do the same thing with Ghost of Yotei, and honestly, after seeing his review, I question whether he actually played the game and also whether he played the first game too. There's a lot of moments in this review that make it clear that he doesn't actually understand what Ghost of Yotei is going for with its story, and other moments where he just straight up lies about things in the game overall. There's a lot to unpack here for sure, so without further ado, let's get into Griffin Gaming's review of Ghost of Yotei and see what he had to say. Oh boy.
What we're dealing with here is yet another Sony story slop title with their trademark lay heckin' revenge bad dude storyline, because this is the same recycled story that we've seen time and time again from AAA game developers, especially from PlayStation, and games like God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, and of course, most famously, The Last of Us Part 2. And now Ghost of Yotei joins that list of games that have to reinforce the idea that revenge is actually bad, dude. I mean, if you want to talk about subtlety being dead, there's case in point, but in other parallels to other Sony-related properties like The Last of Us Part 2, the game even ends with two women raising another man's child at the close of the game. I shit you not.
Okay, so right off the bat, he already makes a huge error that is incredibly obvious if you've played any of the games that he discussed there. Griffin tries to claim that Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, and The Last of Us Part 2 were all woke games that clearly had the theme of revenge is bad, when, funny enough, two of the games he brings up here don't even have that theme at all. The theme of God of War Ragnarok is moving on from your past and looking forward to a better future, pretty much the opposite of clinging to your past and seeking revenge. And with Spider-Man 2, I don't even know how he came to the conclusion that that game is about revenge at all. I think Spider-Man 2 deals with a lot of things, like not being able to live up to the standards that people have set for you, and also finding the courage to take time to yourself when you're feeling burnout. But where in the world does revenge play into that story at all? I'm honestly kind of baffled how Griffin even came to this conclusion. It feels like he didn't play the game. The only game that he brings up here that actually has anything to do with revenge is The Last of Us Part 2. And even then, I would say the themes of that game are a lot more nuanced than just simply revenge is bad. The game also focuses a lot on inheriting a toxic legacy and also themes of forgiveness. In The Last of Us Part 2, after Joel dies, we see Ellie start to take on more of his undesirable traits by killing a lot more. She also shows a lot of anger towards Abby throughout this game, and not necessarily because Abby killed Joel, but more so because now she can't put her anger at Joel, so she wants to put it at Abby instead. And eventually, by the game's end, she learns to just forgive Abby, and as a result, result, also forgive Joel. That's a lot more than just revenge is bad, so I'm not really sure why Griffin tried to boil The Last of Us 2 down to that here, but also I don't know why he brought up those other two games either. Neither Spider-Man 2 nor God of War Ragnarok have anything to do with revenge. It feels like he didn't actually play any of the games he listed there.
In other parallels to other Sony-related properties like The Last of Us Part 2, the game even ends with two women raising another man's child at the close of the game.
Yet again, it becomes very clear that Griffin Gaming most likely didn't actually play The Last of Us 2, because if he had, he would know that the game doesn't end like that at all. The game literally ends with Ellie being alone. She's been so caught up in this pursuit of revenge against Abby throughout the entirety of this game that finally by the game's end, it costs her everything. After leaving her partner Dina and the kid that they're raising together to try to finish off Abby once and for all, despite Dina's protests, she actually ends up being left alone by the end. After sparing Abby and finally learning about forgiveness, she returns home to see that Dina and the kid have both left. She's now left isolated and alone and left to ponder her actions and where to go from here. So no, The Last of Us 2 doesn't end with two women raising another man's baby. I'm not really sure where you got that from.
With Ghost of Tsushima, I can see why Sony was talking about why the budget for this particular game was a lot lower than their other titles, because this really does feel like an unwanted DLC to Ghost of Tsushima in all the worst ways possible. And it just is yet another game that follows the Ubisoft open world gameplay format that really just shouldn't have. In all honesty, I think this game would have been a lot better if it was linear. The open world adds almost nothing to it.
Wait, what? What do you mean the open world adds nothing to this game? That's actually one of the things that critics have been praising this game the most for, all the side content that's available in the open world. Much like any open world game, like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or Skyrim, there's a lot of content available for you to explore and find in the open world here. And much like those games, in Ghost of Yotei's open world, there's a ton of extra content for you to find, so it doesn't really make any sense to say it adds nothing to it at all. If anything, it's stuff like this that adds a lot of replayability to this game long after you've beaten the main story, just like any open world game.
On top of that, you have an obnoxious main character that was obviously chosen for her political alignments, which I'm not even going to get to. 100 people have already covered that at this point. But just take a glimpse at the two voice actresses. There is a reason why in a game set in feudal Japan, they chose to not use the native Japanese speaker in order to be the face and voice of the character and then use English dub after the fact. There is a very deliberate reason why they chose this woman over the other one.
Okay, first of all, I find it really funny that he uses that specific picture of Erika Ishii, the voice actress for Atsu in Ghost of Tsushima, taken from behind the scenes when she was doing mocap for the game, instead of, I don't know, showing literally any of these other pictures you can find of her. One thing that I've seen a lot of these guys getting mad at with Erika Ishii is the size of her arms and the fact that her muscle tone is more pronounced than the average woman. Not only does that argument not really hold any water at all, because the size of her arms don't really matter when Erika is literally just voice acting Atsu and doing motion capture with her face for that character, but it's also just downright hypocritical because, funny enough, the Japanese voice actress for Atsu, which you brought up here, also has very pronounced muscle tone, and this is something she's flaunted herself a lot before. So why exactly is it okay for the Japanese voice actress to have muscle tone, but not okay for the English voice actress? And on top of that, probably the more glaring issue is that her muscle tone has nothing to do with her capability as a voice actress. When you get into that booth when you're voice acting, what really matters is if you're able to embody the character and put on a good performance. And by all means, Erika actually does a bang-up job as Atsu in this game. She's been very highly praised for her role in Ghost of Yotei. Also, in addition to that, I'm not really sure why they're quote-unquote seeking an attractive woman in this game when really, the game isn't really about that at all. The game is a classic gritty samurai adventure, so I'm not really sure why you'd be looking for supermodels in a game like that. Kinda shows you what really matters to these guys when it comes down to it when discussing gaming as an art form. Oh man, I can't goon to the girl who was traumatized as a child and raised during a war in feudal Japan. Like, really? Come on!
And unfortunately, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ghost of Yotei is paired with an equally empty, bland, and lifeless open world with the typical checklist activities in the form of mini games and events in order to gain upgrades and skill points. You literally have a mini game that involves you stroking a guitar. No, I'm not fucking joking. You're flicking coins, chasing foxes, chasing after birds, painting with the touchpad, and stopping by the hot spring for some good old-fashioned gaming fun. You know, say what you will about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth having too many minigames, at least their minigames were fun.
So it looks like Griffin missed this, but these minigames that he's talking about are actually often utilized in the game for both story and gameplay progression, just like it is with any open world game oftentimes. Even with the hot springs which he brings up here, you actually get more insight into Atsu's character with them, and also you do get upgrades to her abilities as well through this. So whether Griffin really wants to admit it or not, the majority of the side content in Ghost of Yotei actually is good for either leveling up your character or learning more about them. And the stuff that isn't is usually a nice fun deviation from the main story, just like it often is in any open world game. Like there's an entire side mission in this game that's actually an homage to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Or more specifically, an homage to the comic The Last Ronin, which is often considered to be the canonical end of the TMNT. This mission is called The Last Brother, and I won't spoil what happens in it, but I definitely recommend checking it out if you have this game. And funny enough, if you complete this mission, you actually get a new sword kit, so it kinda seems like the side content here isn't actually meaningless, unlike what Griffin is saying. Just like any open world game, you're rewarded for exploring.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a lot of woke themes throughout this game. Atsu is definitely a girl boss from start to finish. She has literally fought in a war for 16 years straight prior to this game taking place. Whenever she interacts with men, she always has this very, like, distinct disdain in her voice. Like, you can tell that they're trying to position her character as a man-hater, and whenever she's interacting with women, she's bubbly, warm, and personable. On top of that, there is an entire subplot line in this game where you have to go and acquire the pistol, which basically boils down to a gun control good type storyline.
This is a blatant lie about the game and its story here. If you've played the game, you know that Atsu doesn't just outright hate all men, and she also doesn't love all women unconditionally either. What she does hate are both bad men and bad women. There's literally a mission where she tracks down a woman who's luring in innocence for the shinobi, and there's also plenty of missions where she respects and gets along with men as well, like all the weapon masters stuff. How in the world are you gonna make the claim that she hates all men and only likes women? And honestly, I'm not really sure how women not being seen on the same level as men doesn't make sense for a game set during this time period. This honestly is accurate to feudal Japan, which is where this game is set. I don't really see how that's woke propaganda at all, that's just a period piece. Well, that's like calling Great Ace Attorney woke propaganda because it deals with racism, because that's also a period piece. This is the exact same thing I was talking about in my Synthetic Man video where he thought Silent Hill F was feminist propaganda because it was talking about arranged marriages, when in actuality the game was talking about that because it takes place in 1960s Japan where arranged marriages were still very prevalent. Silent Hill is a period piece and so is Ghost of Yotei, and as a result both games are tapping into themes that would have been prevalent around these periods of time. I find it so funny that these guys think games like this are woke propaganda when really no, it's just historical accuracy. Also, I don't even know where he pulled the gun control metaphor from. What he's talking about is a mission where a guy is learning not to sell weapons to bad people. There's a group of people terrorizing an island and he's selling weapons to them, and he stops doing that after Atsu gets to him. That's literally it. How is that supposed to be a metaphor for gun control in modern day America? Make it make sense.
Yeah, she feels a deep sense of guilt for her family dying at the hands of Lord Saito. And in the beginning of the game, it's revealed that Atsu's father is this famous blacksmith, and at one point he worked with Lord Saito. Now, at one point he decided to abandon Lord Saito and go live his own life and start a family, and apparently because of this, Lord Saito and his men, like, starved or something. Like, I don't really know how a blacksmith leaving your company would result in everyone going through mass starvation, but that is the plot that we are left to deal with. And
what? How does that not make any sense to you? Saito is mad at Kengo because he left Saito's clan when they were dealing with a lack of people and resources. That led to starvation that his kid died of. What exactly about that are you not getting here?
And because of Atsu's father leaving, Lord Saito's daughter starved to death, which this is never really explained because Lord Saito and his 2 adult sons survived, but his young child daughter starved to death. So 2 grown men and their father survived, but the daughter starved, even though she would require less food.
What? No, kids have to eat more than adults. Especially at the age that Kengu's daughter was at, she would need that food to keep growing and keep maturing. That's how it is with any kid that age. How are you not getting this? That's just basic biology.
Again, the story is completely nonsensical in a lot of cases, but apparently this blacksmith was integral in order for Lord Saito to provide food to his troops and family as an extension, and therefore that is why he is set on his path of revenge to get revenge on Atsu and her family.
Yeah, because what a blacksmith does is make tools and weapons for that particular clan. Like I just said, Saito's clan was low on resources. They would need a blacksmith in order to make tools and weapons. That's why he's mad that Kengo left, and that's why he takes revenge by killing Kengo.
Now, throughout this journey, in order to kill the Yotei 6, she does meet one of the companion characters in the game named Oyuki, who is the former Kitsune, which was a member of the Yotei 6. Now, she has recently defected from that group, or more so kicked out, because she didn't want to go along with Saito's evil ways, man, because only men are allowed to be evil in this particular game.
What? No. Like I said before, there are literally women in this game that are depicted as evil. And Atsu goes and takes them down just like she would for any evil man as well. I can't believe Griffin is trying to hammer home this idea of Atsu hating all men and loving all women when really if you play the game it's pretty clear she just hates bad people. There's no bias for gender for her whatsoever here. Griffin is just parroting the same anti-woke talking points that a lot of these guys do.
Because Oyuki is basically trying to dissuade Atsu from pursuing this blind path of revenge, letting her know there's more to life than just hatred, and there's this really weird sexual tension that starts to build between the two.
Oh, really? Why don't you show me where that quote-unquote sexual tension was then, Griffin, rather than just making absurd claims like this? This guy doesn't even bother to show a clip of there being quote-unquote sexual tension between Atsu and the Kitsune at all. He just says it and expects his audience to believe it automatically, which, to be honest, knowing the kind of people that probably watch his slop content, they probably will. There's an alarming amount of people that will often be convinced by people like this that are just grifters trying to sell their own ideology to their audience. It's kind of amazing. But no, there is no sexual tension between Atsu and the Kitsune character at all. That doesn't make any sense. Yuka left the Yotei 6 to work with Atsu because she didn't agree with Saito's methods at all. And from that point onward in the game, they become allies and Atsu teaches her some of the methods that she also knows. That's literally it. There was no sexual tension there whatsoever.
So from here, Atsu goes on her quest in order to find out where Hyubei and Oyuki are being held captive, but first, she does take Kiku to her old home in order to be safe, quote unquote, which, if you can't see the foreshadowing a mile away, then I don't know what to tell you. You have zero media literacy whatsoever.
What? Really? My guy, are you really saying that other people don't have media literacy here? You have spent the entirety of this video just nitpicking pointless things about this game, calling it woke, calling the main girl a girl boss, which, by the way, if you ask any anti-woke grifter what they think a girl boss is, I don't think they could give you a straight answer whatsoever. And on top of that, intentionally misrepresenting this game and straight up lying about it at many points here. And yet you're saying that everybody else doesn't have media literacy? Come on!
Now, she goes and tracks down the spider, and they have like a little clash, but long story short, it comes down to a talk no jutsu moment where she eventually convinces the spider to turn on his father because he has daddy issues. He gives her access to Saito's castle in order for her to go and rescue Hyubei and Oyuki, and in exchange, she will spare the spider's life, and she forgives him, essentially.
Yet again, you're just straight up lying about the story here. Atsu doesn't forgive the spider at all, actually. She just lets go of her need to kill him so she can still save the family that she still has alive. It's pretty clear in that moment there in the game that she still doesn't forgive him at all for what he did. It just feels like that Griffin can't possibly read any deeper into this story at all, or more likely, he doesn't actually care to whatsoever, and as a result, he's giving the most superficial read of this game that I think I've ever heard. This is just straight up mind-boggling.
In the meantime, Saito was headed to your original home where the game began, man. The place that started it all, baby. Apparently, Saito decided to ride out there single-handedly, no guards, nobody, just him by himself and a horse, because it totally makes sense for the de facto leader of the region to ride out unaccompanied in a war-torn area to go and settle your beef with a random woman.
Yeah, it does make sense for two reasons. One, throughout this entire game, Saito is shown to be incredibly egomaniacal and very cocky, so it kinda makes sense that he would ride alone to take on Atsu by himself because he thinks he has the ability to do so. Being the cocky kind of person he is, he doesn't feel like he needs anyone's aid in this. But even aside from that, this is also just historically accurate. In feudal Japan, the highest ranking samurai would be the ones on horseback, everyone else would be traveling on foot. Maybe if Griffin actually took some time to learn about Japanese history, he might know this, but unfortunately it's pretty clear he didn't. And he also just lacks the ability to see basic character traits within a character like Saito.
Because of the death of Hyubei, Atsu and Oyuki decide that it's time to put up their swords, and they settle on raising Kiku themselves to honor the memory of Hyubei. And that is exactly where the game ends. It literally ends with Atsu and Oyuki essentially becoming a lesbian couple and raising another man's child. Where have we seen something very fucking similar to that before in a modern Sony game? I'll give you a hint. It ends with a 2.
Okay, like I said before, The Last of Us Part 2 does not end with a happy lesbian couple. But also like I said before, Atsu and Oyuki aren't even a lesbian couple in this game. He is just straight up lying about this. I just kinda can't believe this at all. This man is so desperate to find something to be mad at in Ghost of Yotei that he straight up has to make up stuff about the game. The grift is absolutely real. But believe it or not, Griffin isn't even the only person that has made a very bad faith review of Ghost of Yotei. Another anti-woke game reviewer who also did this is none other than RevenantRemnant, who honestly I think had an even worse review than Griffin somehow. I mean, the tagline he used on his thumbnail kinda speaks for itself: Ghost of Antifa. Yep, that's the actual thumbnail for this video. I think that already says a lot. Let's see what he had to say in the game overall.
It's astonishing to see so many people shill for a game like Ghost of Yotei, or rather, Ghost of Antifa.
Okay, first off, that tagline, Ghost of Antifa, are you trying to claim that Ghost of Yotei is Antifa propaganda now? It was bad enough with Griffin's lies about this game, but now are you gonna do the exact same thing here?
This game does nothing new whatsoever. In fact, this game along with The Last of Us 2 and God of War Ragnarok all look like they were made by the same developer. Yet there's no shortage of shills doing their damnedest to convince you that Yotei is a must-play. While this type of buffoonery is not surprising, it is rather sad, because this shameful display of dick-sucking for Ghost of Antifa really illustrates how far gaming has fallen, and how a certain group of gamers are aiding in further destroying gaming.
Oh really? How exactly are people that enjoy the Ghost games killing gaming here? These are two pretty unique gaming experiences that really stand out in the last 5 years of PlayStation overall. And there is a reason that these are now the two most successful Sucker Punch games of all time. Before making the Ghost game, Sucker Punch had previously made Sly Cooper and Infamous for Sony. And while I absolutely missed those games, and I kinda wish those franchises come back at some point, it is very clear that these games have been very financially successful for the studio. And the Ghost of series has very quickly turned into their most profitable franchise, with the first game selling over 13 million copies, which in terms of revenue brought in about $357 million for the studio. I think it's pretty clear that most people have spoken with their wallets, and no, these games are clearly not killing gaming whatsoever. If anything, they're pushing the medium forward in cool, creative new ways while still keeping it very profitable.
The people over at Sucker Punch that made Ghost of Tsushima must be on a leave of absence or have gone full retard. They made a new IP that was widely praised, though for me, I found it to be boring personally, also formulaic, and definitely had some wokeness in it. But regardless, Sucker Punch built good faith with Ghost of Tsushima. Fast forward to now, and well, the same can't be said for Yotei. I mean, from the start, the reveal trailer told me all I needed to know about the game.
What, because there was a woman in the trailer? Is that it? Is that why you think this game is quote-unquote woke propaganda? Because it has a female samurai in the trailer? This is a very, very common tactic for grifters overall. Oftentimes, they'll try to sell you on their own ideology about a game, film, or some other piece of media before it even comes out. This guy has made it very clear that he already made up his mind about this game when the trailer came out before he even had a chance to play play it. Rather than just going into this game with an open mind, he's already made it very clear that he has his talking points ready for this game and had them ready when he saw the trailer for it. He's already giving us a big signal that he's not gonna offer any real critical analysis of Ghost of Yotei whatsoever.
And if any of you couldn't see it from the first trailer, then you clearly haven't been paying attention. The motives from Sucker Punch was made apparent. Ghost of Yotei was to make Atsu the new face of the franchise.
No, not really. Atsu became the new protagonist because, hear me out, this is a new installment in the franchise. It has similar Kurosawa-style samurai storytelling from the first game, but it's taking a fresh perspective on that by introducing a new protagonist. Ghost of Yotei and Ghost of Tsushima are two entirely different games when you really look at it. And while they do have a similar setting, they're also telling two different kinds of stories because they have two different kinds of protagonists. This isn't about making a new face for the franchise, it's about keeping things fresh and interesting.
This is what these developers do. The Last of Us did it in its sequel, and Spider-Man 2 did it as well. But there were several other things that made Ghost of Yotei such a controversial game before release, and I'll go over it to remind the dumb fucks that still insist on chilling and making excuses for the slop. Sucker Punch deliberately hired Erika Ishii to play Atsu. They could have went with Atsu's Japanese voice actress or someone else.
Oh great, he's showing the exact same picture that Griffin Gaming showed. Wow, what a shock. And he's even trying to make the same points about the Japanese voice actor in the English one. I swear, all these anti-woke grifters are exactly the same. They always parrot the exact same talking points off of each other.
But instead went with Erika because she shares the same far-left ideologies as Sucker Punch.
No, they went with her because she's an English voice actress that happens to have Asian ethnicity. And also, fun fact, she has previous martial arts training. So in a lot of ways, she's actually one of the best picks for Atsu, a female samurai. Especially when it comes to doing motion capture for a character like that, since she can do all her own stunts. Really doesn't have anything to do with politics here whatsoever. They picked her because she's a good fit for the role.
It was obvious by some of the devs' bios on X. Then there's Erika Ishii, an outspoken radical far-left activist with, according to her, has all the pronouns and had made a post in 2020 stating that she and her wife are Antifa.
Oh yeah, clearly there's Antifa propaganda listed all over this game just because Erika tweeted once in 2020 that she's Antifa or whatever. Which, knowing her, she was probably just being sarcastic about that in order to rile up people just like yourself. And what do you know, it actually worked here since you're dwelling on a tweet from 5 years ago. This is completely unbelievable.
Yes, the terrorist organization Antifa. And there's no way that Sucker Punch wasn't aware of any of Erika's posts. Now that we're up to speed, let's get back to the game itself. That's if you can even call it a game. After all, the shills have been mainly posting clips of them staring at mountains in the distance, riding a horse in a large empty field, cutting grass, and the most impressive feat of all, cooking fish.
The shotgun had just knocked me out of my seat.
I know, I'm just as shocked as you are. I mean, I've seen some innovative things in my years of gaming, starting with the Sega Genesis in the 90s, but I never thought I'd see the day that we could cook fish in a game. I swear, you shills treat games like Ghost of Antifa as if they're artsy-fartsy, hidden gem, obscure, AA or indie games. The way you cocksuckers hype up anything and act like any of this shit is groundbreaking is pathetic.
Oh yeah, clearly all these people who just enjoy the game are company shills and are out to market the game secretly under fake accounts. Clearly there's no way anyone could like Ghost of Yotei, right? Gee, where have I seen this before? Just like James Gunn's Superman and also Tron Ares, it seems like people just can't handle people actually enjoying two movies. Except in this case, they can't handle someone enjoying a video game, so they gotta call them a company shill. Cause they just can't fathom someone enjoying a game like Ghost of Yotei.
I'll get back to the shills later, specifically the faggot synth potato.
Hi, faggot. Hi there.
Wow, you really didn't even try to hide that one, did you, buddy? He's already making it very clear his biases here and why he actually dislikes this game. I'm kind of surprised this review actually got up on YouTube because of that, not gonna lie. And there are many moments in the game where she fights other women. Man, I can't even believe this. He's just repeating all the same things that Griffin said. And both these guys' reviews came out on the same day. Were they just copying off each other's notes or something?
But for now, there's the matter of what makes Ghost of Antifa woke. Since a bunch of morons kept pushing the narrative that the actions of the voice actress will have no influence on the game, or that Sucker Punch hired Erica for genuine reasons. You don't have to waste $70 on a slop in order to know that it sucks donkey balls. Just watch streams and reviews and save yourself the time, money, and dignity. Now, as expected, Atsu is a girl boss character that goes through yet another revenge story. She acts cold and aggressive towards men, but warm and kind towards women.
Like I said before, Atsu very clearly does not have a bias towards gender throughout this game whatsoever. She doesn't like bad people regardless of whether it's a man or a woman.
There's a moment in the game where she fights a group of men with just her fist. I know, such groundbreaking realism. And there's a side quest about gun control, and she literally howls at grown male warriors, which sends them cowering in fear, begging for mercy. Are you noticing the patterns yet? On top of that, the group that killed her family, or the Yotei 6, one of them disbanded from the group, a female to be exact, named Aoki. Atsu forgives her, and they become quote-unquote friends, while on the other hand, Atsu kills the remaining members of the group, who all just so happen to be men. Later, Atsu reunites with her brother during the story, only for him to die from Lord Saito, the leader of the Yotei 6. Atsu then kills Lord Saito. Afterwards, Atsu and her lesbian lover, Aoki, adopt her brother's daughter.
No, once again, they are not lesbians whatsoever.
Now that I mentioned female characters, let me get back to shills such as Synth Potato, who seems to constantly post dumb, disingenuous bullshit on a daily basis. This guy, along with other retarded shills like him, want to paint a false narrative that we don't like playing as female characters, and that the characters shown are from some of the greatest games in the decade.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Remnant, but it seems like all the players have kind of spoken for you here. Both Silent Hill F and Ghost of Yotei, games that you guys kept claiming had quote-unquote Asian girl bosses in them, have actually gone on to be the two best-selling games of the fall so far. And earlier this year, Split Fiction, a game starring two female protagonists, was also a huge hit. It kind of seems like that gamers who are actually sane don't really care as much about the gender of the character they're playing in the game as long as the game is actually good. Ghost of Yotei, Silent Hill F, and Split Fiction are all good games, and as a result, players were receptive to that. Nice try though.
Is that we like playing as good female characters, ones that are well written, with cool designs that stand out, accompanied with fun combat and striking level designs, and female characters in games that don't have woke ideological nonsense that ruins the characters and the games as a whole.
So right here, he already kind of shows his hand by calling Eve from Stellar Blade a quote-unquote well-written character. This is ironic because if you actually play Stellar Blade, Eve is one of the least fleshed out characters in the entire game. Heck, in all honesty, even Lily gets more development than her. The real draw of Stellar Blade is very clearly the gameplay and other things as well. I think Remnant made it very clear his biases towards female characters when showing these characters that he did here. He doesn't care about playing as well-written female characters, he just wants one he can goon to. Which, in all honesty, ends up being the case with a lot of the anti-woke grifters overall.
Guys like Synth Potato, Detective Seeds, Jor Raptor, and MBG accept whatever slop that is given and claim that it's peak or amazing. You guys are what is wrong with modern gaming. You display slave behavior for companies past their prime in an industry stripped of its soul. And here you are, being a good corporate slave by saying, "Oh my god, Ghost of Yotei is a work of art. Imagine not playing this right now because of woke or some other insane reason." Motherfucker losing his shit like he's Joey Styles going, "Oh my god, while playing as a lesbian Antifa Ronin riding a horse in an empty field. Yeah, it's so insane people aren't playing the game. It's a real head scratcher. You know what's insane? People like this, who are shilling for a game starring an Antifa member who openly hates white people and law enforcement.
Oh wow, really? When did she ever say that? You mind showing some evidence of that, buddy? I love how he's just making these claims without actually bothering to back them up at all. The grift is absolutely real.
These individuals have no character and no self-control, and any respect that they lose is well deserved. No wonder journalists are loving this woke slop. Despite IGN surprisingly pointing out the obvious with Sony games having revenge stories, the media will create fake hype along with the shills, another industry plant just like Expedition 33 and Metaphor ReFantasio.
Or, and hear me out, maybe people are actually excited for the game and aren't industry plants. Gee, that's a profound concept there, huh? People can be allowed to like a game, and they don't just have to be some kind of marketing tool for a company, which, by the way, is an insane conspiracy theory to come up with to begin with.
Get ready for Yotei to win a ton of fake awards with Death Stranding 2 at Jeff Keighley's Fake Awards show.
Whoa, wait, the Game Awards are the fake awards? I didn't know that. Then where's the real awards show? I don't see any other gaming awards shows out here. Oh my gosh, this guy is insane.
And watch the usual suspects try to use that as a win, as if it means anything. Award shows, journalist reviews, and Metacritic scores are as believable as the Tooth Fairy. No amount of gaslighting will sway me to play Ghost of Antifa. Maybe the lo-fi beats will persuade Tyrone and LaQuisha, or maybe Simp Potato's amazing gameplay clip of him pelting firebombs at a bear standing stationary from a distance in a pitch black void of an environment will silence the naysayers. We've seen this all before, and it's tiresome. Gaming has barely progressed since 2015.
Oh, really? So let's look at some games from 2015 here, shall we? So you're telling me that gaming hasn't evolved beyond Mortal Kombat 10, Star Wars Battlefront, the EA version, Angry Birds 2, Chibi Robo Ziplash. Oh boy, Scott the Woz won't be happy about that.
And you want to talk about cartridge-shaped garbage? Take a gander at Chibi Robo Ziplash.
This game blows.
Bloodborne, Batman Arkham Knight, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Yoshi's Woolly World, and Codename Steam? Yeah, nice try, buddy. Overall, neither of these reviews are actually good critical reviews of Ghost of Yotei whatsoever. Both Griffin Gaming and Remnant made their biases pretty clear about this game from the get-go, and it's very clear they already had their talking points ready when going into this game to begin with. Rather than looking at the things you should look at when criticizing a video game such as storytelling, pacing, gameplay, graphics, replayability, and things like that, they just went for all the same anti-woke talking points that all these guys go for. They're just simply mad there is a woman in the main role of this game, and that's basically it. If you want a good, actually in-depth review about this game, I recommend checking out Outside Extra's review of it, since I think they did a pretty good job giving a general synopsis of the game and what you can expect from it. And if you want to see a critical review from someone that actually didn't like the game but gave real reasons why they didn't, check out SkillUp's video on it as well. For me personally, I actually do recommend Ghost of Yotei. I'm a big fan of the films of Akira Kurosawa, and that's a big reason why I like the first Ghost of Tsushima game. And honestly, for what it's worth, I think Ghost of Yotei is yet again another very solid samurai adventure. For me personally, it had everything I wanted and more, and I recommend you check it out if you're curious about this kind of thing as well. But what do you think? Am I wrong? Are these guys actually right about Ghost of Yotei? Is the game actually woke propaganda? And was I wrong all along? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you plan to play this game or not. I'm very curious to hear what people's thoughts in general are about Ghost of Yotei. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and also consider subscribing as well. I do lots of videos like this in general, talking about film, video games, animation, and things like that, so if you like this video, you'll probably like the other ones I have planned as well. You can also follow me on all my socials like Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, all the things. They're all linked down below. You can also check out my letterbox link down below where I write up in-depth movie reviews. All those are down in the description. Special thanks to all my YouTube members and patrons who are all listed here currently. I appreciate all of you pitching in with the extra monetary support to keep me doing what I do here. It definitely means a lot. I appreciate you for coming to the very end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it, learned something new from it. But for now, I've been Otterly Noah, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye!